Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, the place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Allah, and we have our African Liberation Talk series with one of the most brilliant minds, I would say, in our day and time. Remarkable brother by the name of Divine Prospect, and we're going to have a short talk in regards to the things that he has going on with his organization, and the message for our people going forward 2017 and beyond. Shalom, brother. How you doing?
Shalom, shalom, knowledge born. How you doing, King?
Good, man. Working on my tan out here. You know what I'm saying? The blacker the berry. So
uh, I hear that.
yeah, we definitely no strangers to one another. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and focus upon the positive, like yourself, and continue to show our people uh, that there are options. You don't just have to settle for what's being put in front of you. So, as we look at this, subject, liberation and the liberation of our people from this oppressive hold, we have to bring into question, certain things. And one of the biggest talks, I definitely wanted to get your perspective on this from the opening, is the subject of revolution or exodus. We have a documentary that's coming up here, seen by the brothers from Revolutionary Mind Cinema and the Queen from Revolutionary Mind Cinema. So I definitely would want to get your outlook on viable option, revolution or exodus for our people as something definitive going forward.
Gotcha. Yeah. When I went to the Black Power Awards event that they had out here in Atlanta, I saw when they was shooting the footage. They had did one with Eric Shepard. They had did one with Young Pharaoh, and a couple other people when they was out there at the awards. Unfortunately, I was lined up next to get interviewed, but the event has started, so we had to leave abruptly and go and attend the event. And after the event, everybody's pulled in a million different directions. So I really didn't get an opportunity to actually speak in regards to documentary. They said they're gonna make another trip back out here. If they do, then I'll get on it. But in the interim, you're gonna get the exclusive first. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's an excellent question in regards to revolution or exodus, right? Exodus, we would think about repatriation and going back to our place of origin, which we know to be Africa. And I also consider the land, what is colloquially called Palestine, to be Northeast Africa. All right. And people that know me know that when I teach about the Hebrew Israelite culture and people, I see them as an extended tribe from the continent of Africa. Okay. I don't see them any different than any other African culture, people, ethnic group, tribe, clan, chiefdom, etc., that we discover on the continent. So repatriation would be anything that will encompass that landmass, all right, or that tectonic plate. Okay, so revolution is something very important, and I'll speak on a few things real quick. I did 2 lectures that actually touch on this, right, and the people out there. Before I tell you guys about the lectures, let me give you an introduction on the organization. The organization is called Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, right? Harbinger, Harbinger. Harbinger is an individual that goes before a king or an army, and they go into another town, another place, another region, and they make preparations for that king or that army to arrive, and they make a lodge for them to come stay. So their objective is to actually prepare the place before the king or the army arrives, so that the people in that place that they're preparing can accept them, when they arrive. So Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, the word ministries just has to do with serving the community. So, us as a people in America, right? Black people in America, our people need a lot of preparation. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of things that's coming onto this planet soon, because white supremacy is not letting up off of our necks. Okay. So what I'm doing and what the organization doing, I'm just at the forefront of the organization. We're prepping the minds, the communities for this new revolution that's going to take place, where the kingdom of the world is going to be usurped and a righteous government will be established. Okay. But before that can occur, our people have to be in a place of positioning, so that way we could be the vessels utilized in initiating this process. So that comes through education, that comes through reinstituting culture, that comes to establishing autonomy, that comes to challenging academia, getting out information academia, that goes into looking out for the needy, the poor, the less fortunate, the widows, making sure that they're taken care of, making sure that if we can, we're giving out food, clothing, providing shelter. Also, we have to start our own business and become entrepreneurs. You know, every Black person in America should have at least 2 or 3 hustles, right? And I don't advocate anything illegal anymore, or what would be illegal in the mindset of the secular realm of society. But I believe that we all should have a hustle. You feel what I'm saying? Because nothing is guaranteed to us. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why I say this is because the organization, everybody that's a part of it, has their own business, or they work with somebody who's in the organization that has a business. And the objective of that is to patronize one another. So that way we have a self-sustaining ecosystem where we can patronize each other, and we don't have to go outside of that circle in order to get the resources that we need to sustain ourselves. So that's another concept that's embedded in the actual ministry itself, because it's about serving each other, improving our communities, reinstituting culture, establishing autonomy, and ensure that education at the forefront, so that way our people can get back to the indigenous state of mind, and they can reject the Western colonial mindset that has been designed to destroy us via capitalism, oppression, and genocide. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much in a nutshell what the organization is about and what our objective is. So we're preparing the people for a new kingdom that's coming, a kingdom of righteousness. But before that can occur, we got work to do. You feel me? So on my YouTube channel, I got a few videos where I talk about solutions. And revolution has to be with, you have the word revolve. You know, you're taking something in its current state and you're doing a full rotation, right? A full change. Okay, and the objective of that full change, because the current system is not conducive for the preservation or survival of the people that's being oppressed in it. So therefore, those people who are the oppressed have to create a system in which the oppressors have less rule, reign, and control over their lives. Unfortunately, this captivity that we're in right now, and our plight as African American people, has been one where we are being lulled asleep. And we're being given so many forms of social media, TV, music, clothing, so much stimuli that we are being distracted away from the cause. Okay. And, we hear that thing, the revolution will not be televised. And that's true. It's not going to be televised because the 6 major media corporations control all the media in the world. So therefore, there's no way that they're going to televise what it is that we're doing. But the good thing is that with the inception of the internet, it has become an open field for us to put this information out there, so that way we can prep the people subtly and prep the people for a revolution. And my concept of revolution, before you can even repatriate, I mean, there's a lot of people have that mindset to repatriate, but there's work that you got to do before you repatriate. So in regards to revolution and exodus, I believe that you have to have a revolution before you have an exodus, right? So on my YouTube channel, I have a video that's called From Economic Subversion to Autonomous Conversion. From economic subversion to autonomous conversion. And I implore you guys to go back and take a look at that, because in there I get into the economic aspect of what we can do to create a revolution within this current construct that we're living. I have another video on there. It's called esteemed Conference, the esteemed Conference, Domestic Reparation or Motherland Repatriation. So in that, I talk about, if we're going to stay here domestically, how can we repatriate or repair our current condition, so that way we can thrive with some degree of quality until, the revolution occurs and things change? Or do we go back to the motherland, repatriate back to the motherland? And if so, what are the steps that we can take to get back to the motherland? And the other video in there that I would encourage people to watch is a template for building the Black community. And in there, I go into more details on what we can do practically in our community right now without any kind of big revolution in order for us to have a sustainable ecosphere or ecosystem, so that way we can be self-sufficient and not dependent on the oppressor, because there's no way you can fight a revolution if you're wholly dependent on your oppressor, right? So you have to find indigenous means of self-preservation, survival, sustainability, etc. if you're going to create a revolution, right? If you're going to initiate a revolution, push a revolution, talk a revolution. Black power is only power when you have resources to sustain yourself, okay? And when those resources that you use to sustain yourself comes from within the people who are agreeing to this revolutionary act, okay? I don't advocate for people to be on offensive, right? And for us to pick up arms immediately and go and shoot out with the oppressor, because you cannot survive that way. That is not a practical way, or even any kind of way where you're thinking about the casualties in regards to the benefits, right? That's more of a detriment than anything. So I don't say we go on an offensive with weapons. What I do say is that we only have weapons and technology in order for us to protect ourselves. And I'm going to share some things with you because this is very interesting. Again, I have a lecture that I'm going to do next year on this subject matter. But again, I got to give my brother Knowledge Born the exclusive. Okay. With your permission, do I have a couple of minutes to go in on a few things? You there? Are you there? Hello?
What's going on with this thing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was to share my screen with your YouTube channel, so direct the people's attention to it while you adding on.
Cool. Yeah, I was just asking if I have your permission, can I proceed to speak on a few things within the restricted time that we have? Just want to make sure I have.
I'm listening right here.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna go into a few things, and this is off the dome. Again, like I said, I have a presentation coming up where I'm gonna go more in depth into this. But the objective is to always be on the defensive in regards to warfare, right? Warfare, and offensive when it comes to being autonomous, okay? And these are several things that I'm going to share with you guys, so that way it can help point you in the right direction in regards to a practical means of a revolution, right? Or a change, a complete change, all right? First and foremost, it starts with education, right? We first need to educate our people and educate them on culture. Culture is very important because culture creates the safeguards and the guidelines in order for us to be self-sustainable. It teaches us the do's and don'ts, the right from wrong, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's native, what's foreign, what's beneficial, what's detrimental. It teaches you how to patronize one another. It teaches you the optimal diet for your physiological and anatomical makeup. It teaches you the precepts necessary in order to initiate the cultural mandates for the preservation and survival of the next generation. Culture, it has to do with an aggregate of social memory over periods of time in regards to the do's and don'ts, the right and wrong, what works and what doesn't work. And when we implement these things at the foundation, then what we could do is we can build on top of that. And what we build on top of that is autonomy. Autonomy has to do with us being self-reliant on one another, on ourselves, for our survival. All right. America was not created the way it is now with the so-called Negro, African-American, or Black individual in mind. It was not designed for our survival. It was not designed for our escalation. It was not designed for our edification, our empowerment. It was not designed for that. So therefore, we cannot use the current construct the way that it is to fully sustain ourselves. Now, we can use elements of it, you know what I'm saying, where we can be an aggregationalist. And I saw a film called 7mm, and they used a term called aggregationalist, right? So me, I'm not a full separatist, and I'm not a full integrationalist, right? What I do is I work almost like the movie The Matrix, right? What I do is that I go outside of Zion, right, into the Matrix to grab our people and bring them back outside the Matrix, so that way we have more numbers when fighting against this machine. So what does that mean? That means that my objective for navigating through society is to accumulate a vast amount of resources that I then take and bring back to the community, so that way we can better build the community. And this is very optimal and very practical if we are going to survive in our current state, because we are lacking a lot of resources. Okay, now at one point in time we had Seneca Village, which was autonomous. We had Black Wall Street was autonomous, but there were about 4 or 5 things that they were missing that I'm gonna share with you guys now, that if we implement, then we can definitely revolve this situation that we're in right now, change it completely, right? Starting first with our immediate communities. And also, again, look up municipalities. See if you can implement municipalities in any Black cities that you guys live in, all right? Look on the books to see how to start it, how to initiate it, because this is very, very important if you utilize it as a tool that can help us be autonomous, okay? The first thing is we need to have a manufacturing factory, okay? We don't have any assembly line factories. That is very important for mass production, for anything. If we're going to have a community where people need to be fed, people need to be clothed, people need to be armed, etc., if you don't have a manufacturing facility, right, with the assembly line, it's going to be very difficult for you to mass produce any product that's necessary for the survival of those people. So we have to invest in these factories. There's a lot of them in Detroit, and there's a lot of them all over the US. You know, a lot of them are abandoned. A lot of them you can actually rent. A lot of them you can purchase. So we have to first create our own manufacturing plants with assembly lines, so that way we can mass produce products. If we create things within the community, we want to be able to ensure that we don't have to go outside the community to have the oppressor produce it for us. So if we have our own factories, whether we buying land and building it from scratch, or whether we renting or whatever, we need these factories in order to mass produce products and goods, okay? This is very essential to our survival. And that was one thing, major thing that they did not have in Seneca Village, and that they did not have at Black Wall Street. Number 2, we need intel. Intel means we need our own informants that are integrated into society in various fields of society, all right? Whether that's education, whether that's politics, whether that's science, whether that's technology, whether that's agriculture. We need our own intel in these areas, right? Government, so that way information can be relayed back to our community, so that way we are aware of what's going on around us, and we're not in this self-contained bubble where we are oblivious to threats and danger that can impose itself and destroy what it is that we have. All right. Black Wall Street did not have good intel outside of the community, because if they did, they would have been able to anticipate the things that came upon them before it occurred. All right. So we need intel. Intel is very important, and we need our own informants that are integrated in society, that is relaying information back to us, so that way we know what to utilize in order to continue to promulgate our growth, okay, or promote our growth. This is very important. So manufacturing is important. Intel is important. We have to know what's going on around us, and we can't be a self-contained bubble where we're not aware of anything that's going on in society, because those things can adversely affect us. Third is we need community currency, and we need a community bank to regulate that community currency. Community currency is a means of exchange, right? An item for that's useful for a means of exchange that's beneficial to both parties, and that's it's regardless of whatever the other party has to barter, but it's a medium of exchange that is only valuable within our community. If we take the dollar, right, if we take any kind of paper, stocks, bonds from society and use it to fund our community, we are putting ourselves in a condition where we are not going to survive the long run. So we need to create a community currency where we create our own banknotes and have our own charter bank that's designed and utilized to circulate and to regulate the value thereof of those notes that we're exchanging. And those notes are backed by hard assets, whether it's silver or gold, whether it's a product, etc. We need hard assets backed by notes that's regulated by our own community bank, because this way, whatever currency that we circulate is only going to be beneficial to us. We cannot keep using negotiable debt instruments from society, because that will continually place us in a position of debt and a position of servitude to the oppressor. So we have to create our own community currency, and that community currency has value within the community. And if people want the products, goods, or services that we're offering within the community, they have to be able to exchange whatever they have in our banks and use that currency to purchase our goods. And once we have those things, we have to create up our own insurance company to insure the things that are being regulated within the community, and also to ensure that we have a committee that's responsible for regulating things that are going on in regards to the bank, in regards to ensuring things whenever we do business with other outside entities. That's very important. Community currency, community bank, along with intel and along with manufacturing. Number 4 that we have to consider is we have to have international trade agreements with other nations, right, that are willing to invest in our IP or intellectual property, because these other nations will be the giants that will be looking out for our best interest, because they have a vested interest in us. And this is very important. Black Wall Street did not have international ties and contracts and agreements with international governments, not just corporations, governments, right? So when you are able to afford your intellectual property to governments, and governments are investing in you, that means if anything ever happens to you domestically, those governments will at least sanction the US via the UN to intervene and see what is going on, because they have a vested interest in us. International trade agreements is important. We need to continue to create our own products, goods, and services that other international governments will want and will be willing to invest in. We have so many brilliant minds that this is things that we need to create. And number 5 is technology. Technology is very important. We need to take the most brilliant minds that are going to these colleges, and we need to bring back these engineers. We need to bring back these scientists. We need to bring back these people that deal with aerospace and technology such as that, like Lockheed Martin and NASA and all of that. We need those black brilliant minds to come back to our community and invest in technology. And we need to create some things that will ensure our sustainability. We need to create water filtration, purification, and distribution systems. We need to create self-sustainable farms, right? So let's say, for example, for whatever reason, something happens to the sun for whatever reason, we can have our own UV material to continue to sustain our farms, along with the water filtration system that we can utilize to continue to filter and redistribute. We need to be able to create our own self-sustainable earth ships, okay, which are places of or homes that can sustain itself without needing the utilities from society or the corporations. And the reason why, you know, your home is of ownership to the government is because utilities have to run through there and utilities are regulated. But if we take out the utilities and create our own self-sustaining system or earth ships, then we can produce in mass the resources that we need to sustain ourselves. All right. We also need to create technology such as force fields. And people may say, oh, you know, force fields, that sounds kind of spooky. It's really not spooky. And I'm going to find an article for you so you guys can see that force fields are being created through military apparatuses that are already out there in the world. Okay. And why do I say force field? People may listen to that and say, well, that sounds crazy. If we create a self-sustainable ecosystem where we don't have to go outside of our community to sustain ourselves and a populace that dwells on that land, then if we create a force field, the force field will prevent any threats from entering into that community, be it nuclear weapons, via tanks, via airplanes, via anything that you can think of. That force field will contain and protect our community, and the technology is there. We also need to create free energy systems, okay, that Tesla also introduced into the world. Creating these free energy systems, we can pull electrons from the atmosphere, right, or from the air, and we can transmute that into energy and electricity and power our homes without the need of running cable lines through the community, okay? Solar panels is also important, but solar panels can be compromised. But if you're pulling things from out of the electrons from out of the atmosphere, you will have a self-sustainable flow of technology, of electricity, excuse me, that will continue to sustain the community. So we need technology because this is at the forefront to our survival. And the things that I mentioned to you, again, I'm doing an upcoming lecture on that where I'm going to go detail by detail all these things that I say to you, because before we can think about repatriating, we have to first recondition the mind. Okay. An example of that would be the free blacks that repatriated back to Liberia. And the problem with those free blacks that repatriated back to Liberia is because when they went there, they had the oppressor's mindset, and they started to impress the indigenous peoples like how they were oppressed when they were here in America. It was a complex that they were suffering from that they did not detox or cleanse themselves from before going back to the motherland to try and assist. They became the oppressor to the natives there, and that caused a long civil war between the repatriated blacks and the native Africans that were there. So we have to get back to the indigenous mindset. That's why education should always be at the core, and our people should learn these indigenous values, these individuals' ethics, these morals. Okay, so that way when we go over there, we can respect the cultures that we'll be interfacing with, and we will also be able to afford and offer our IP in exchange for land, goods, and other accommodations. All right. So again, very important to create revolution here. And once the people can live off the grid and be self-sustained, then those people are qualified to repatriate, because they will have been weaned away from the system from an extended period of time, that they will not have this cold turkey feeling of wanting to go back to Big Brother or to the conveniences of this society. Because if you're too hooked on to the umbilical cord of what this society is feeding you from the placenta of Big Brother and government, then it's going to be very difficult for you to disconnect from that and breathe on your own. So we have to put ourselves to this birthing process, the separation process, and we have to do first here domestically before we're any good when we repatriate. So these are some things you guys can take into account and be able to start to get the ball rolling. So that way, whether there's a revolution or exodus, we can get these core fundamental things established first, instituted first, implemented, and then from there, we can use that moment that we have to push forth our momentums for our preservation, survival, and success if we are going to be in existence in the next 10, 20, 40, 50, 100 years from now. Okay, and I give it back over to you. I
definitely value that perspective. I just wanted to show the people one of the lectures that you mentioned, so they could also see your YouTube channel, and they could go watch you. And this one right here, this is from Economic Subversion to Autonomous Conversion, lecture by Divine Prospect. See the YouTube channel, support his works. One of the more comprehensive brothers that we have in the community in regards to research and, you know, the road trip. You see what I'm saying? To go to the ends of the earth to make sure that he has the proper information. So I just wanted the family to look at this YouTube channel, go and subscribe, and check out this video in particular that he made reference to, and also thoroughly encourage people to go back and listen to that impromptu plan for something that's forthcoming here 2017, to be able to, you know, glean from those nuggets and those jewels that was imparted in the course of his discourse right here, and also the body of work. I know the last time we spoke, the book in the works. I'm just hoping I ain't late to the party about the book situation. So a little bit on where we are with the book for the family.
Okay. And while I'm saying this, if you don't mind, can you bring up STEAM's conference, domestic reparation? Bring up that lecture too, because when I was in Detroit last year, I brought forth a plan, and I didn't get to finish that lecture, but that lecture actually outlines revolution or exodus. And I'm probably going to do it again where I upload the slides and maybe elaborate a little bit on the slides, but that right there encompasses revolution and exodus, right? Again, the STEAM's conference, domestic reparation, or motherland repatriation. That's an excellent lecture. And again, I'm going to re-upload it with the slides and more commentary. So that way, that will be a comprehensive package that we can utilize and implement that will allow us to be sustained here in America. Now, as far as the academic works, I have a documentary that's coming out. I've been a little hush-hush on it, but I'll reveal some minute details now. Pretty much, it's a comprehensive research project that I'm doing where I'm going to Africa and I'm going to Israel, and I'm speaking to geneticists, anthropologists, griots, historians, archaeologists, professors, scientists, etc. And the objective of that is to look at the migrations in ancient times to now from Northeast Africa into West Africa and be able to identify the multitude of the tribes that are there and which ones were adversely affected by the transatlantic slave trade. And with that, I'll also be able to showcase that there were some tribes that identified themselves from the lineage of the ancient Israelites that were also there in West Africa, because they weren't the only ones that were taken in the slave trade, and they weren't the only ones that were oppressed there in West Africa, but showcase those tribes specifically in the mixture or multitude of the other tribes that were also adversely affected, and be able to showcase to the people through these means of these various experts, okay, that validate that these tribes have a justifiable account in regards to their migration route going to going from Northeast Africa to West Africa, and then ultimately to the Americas. So that documentary is going to be a huge project. I want to complete it in a year. It may take a little longer than that. It's going to require a lot of resources, but definitely that's definitely going to edify the people when you get to see boots to the ground, primary research, documentation, and interviews and everything, you know what I'm saying, in this journey that I want to take people along, so that way we can get some more answers. Okay. The second thing I have is an academic textbook that's going to, you know, I titled it The Minority Report, but that's not the official name. That's the tentative name, where I'm going to showcase all the evidence for the ancient Israelites. Okay. From their entrance into ancient Kemet to the exodus out of ancient Kemet. I'm going to dispel myths. I'm going to dispel misconceptions, misunderstandings in regards to the entrance, populating in exodus out and establish themselves as a nation state there in the region of Palestine. And the objective of that lecture is to be able to take an academic approach to the people, or the ethnogenesis of the people known as the ancient Israelites, and be able to do so sans any kind of religious dogma, sans relying heavily upon the literature by itself, but going strictly to the archaeology, to the history, to establish with elements of the literature the anthropological outlook on the development of these people. Okay, so that textbook is going to be in the works. I have a good brother called A.O. Green who's going to hook me up with the publishing on it, and we're going to get it into several universities that I've been in talks with that are interested in actually carrying the book after I proposed to them the concept and submitted the article for them, because I speak to professors, I go to universities here and there, and I interface with these people. I have access to them, so that way I get to test the material that we utilize in the Black conscious community or the Hebrew Israelite community, and I get to bounce it off these professors and these various people who's on staff and these chair men and women at these universities, so it can help me to better solidify my particular premise on anything that I teach. Okay, so that academic textbook is in the works and will be released soon. That documentary is also in the works and will be released soon. And those are going to be the two biggest accomplishments that I put out. Now I'm going to have other smaller books that I'll be released, mostly informational, just to educate the people. Also have a guidebook with questions and answers in regards to the Hebrew Israelite community, so that way it could be better conveyed to the Christian community, because that's the biggest community in the Black community, is the Christian adherents, more so than those in the Black conscious community and those in the Hebrew Israelite community. All right, so those works are going to be huge, and again, it's going to be game changing. So I implore you guys to stay on the lookout for it, to provide you, lend your support. I will add you down as an endorser or sponsor. Anybody that wants to assist, be a part of the project, wants to fund the project, wants to volunteer in any way, and have your name on the credit, so that way you can use that on your resume in regards to opening up doors for opportunity for you. So again, we have to assist and help one another. All right. So no, Knowledge Born, you're not late to the party. Those things are still getting ramped up. We didn't even get the party started yet, right? But we're prepping everything the nights before the party gets popping. All right. So yes, that's still on. We are still on track with that. It's just gonna take a little bit more time because, you know, that's not my sole focus. I have a whole lot of other things that I'm working on. So sometimes it becomes very difficult for me to stay on a linear path and complete one great task. You know, small tasks are easy, but a great task will take much more time. So, you know, those things are coming out, and I appreciate your interest and your support as always from day one. And wanted to encourage the people, please continue to send your support this way so I can make this happen, so that way it can be immediately beneficial to you guys.
Most definitely. You know, you've been around since day one, you know, and I got the video pulled up here. Esteemed Conference, Domestic Repatriation, Motherland Repatriation, another phenomenal, my brother Divine Prospect. You know, he shines wherever he goes, you know, shines wherever he goes, man. Definitely push the envelope in regards to thought, and definitely a space and place where we need to return to condition or current situation within our community. One is family, a family-oriented environment, first and foremost, because that's the foundation and core of who we are. So if we don't have a family as African people, we don't have anything. Everything in our society comes forth from our basic family. So we can find everything that we need to find in a society within our family if we look close. How could we then convey a message to the people, especially asking for unity, if we can't present a family? You know, so we have to return to family basis and our premise to be able to move out forward. How we operate, how we get to a nation is we begin with the family. You know, it starts as a family, and then it moves as a neighborhood or a communal type of situation. Then it goes to a state type of situation. Then we go into a nation. So now we're dealing with and growth and dealing from a space of true autonomy. You know, we're dealing with the seven principles of Kwanzaa, and you know, today is we're dealing with that, you know, that aspect of Ujima, collective work and responsibility, but that's it's birthed out of unity. Then it turns into self-determination, and then it grows into collective work and responsibility. So assigning these ancestral principles, our creator gave us and endowed us with these gifts to be able to see these things out, even through a space and place of abstract poverty, and all of the types of situations that we had undergone here. Uh, we have a remedy to be able to return back to those ancestral gifts. You know, again, returning back into our family and that space and place of family, and being able to move forward. So I definitely want to commend you, and I'm very glad I'm able to, you know, be a resource and an advocate for your work in academia, and also for your contributions going forward, because they're very needed to building up that through line for our next generation to have something as an inheritance other than a bill. You know, oftentimes we have a situation to where all we leave behind is a bill. So, you know, uh, uh, endangering our future generations with a debt type of system. So they're already uh, into how they can move and operate. You see what I'm saying? So definitely with some of the things that you laid out, just basically here as a focal point going forward, uh, you know, makes me more excited for presentation that you're going to be giving out, and also for these offerings in the form of this documentary that's coming out, and also for your work in academia. So I wanted to ask about, you know, painting us a picture of 2017 and beyond. Going forward, where should the focal point be, and what are some of the action steps uh, that we should be taking in regards to us building this bridge back to one another in regards to our ancestors, traditions, culture, even language, and how we see one another. You know, what are some of the things that you can have us to key in on?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say would be social economics versus capitalism. Capitalism is very individualistic, and social economics is more cultural. Okay. Social economics is when you see every individual as that dollar. Okay. Every person has a value. And when you incorporate those people into your lives, it will make you prosperous and rich. And you will play your role because just as you are equally important to them, they're equally important to you. So we have to re-educate our people into learning social economics as opposed to capitalism. Okay. One is selfless and one is selfish. Okay. Selfish one is capitalism. Social economics is selfless. From there, I would say that we have to become more autonomous. Okay. We have to be creating our own gardens, even if you can't afford to go buy land. If you have a house, turn your backyard into a garden. If you don't have a lot of money, you know, you can use EBT cards to go to Whole Foods and you can purchase topsoil. You can purchase gardening tools. You can purchase seeds, right, with the EBT card and utilize that to create gardens in your backyard for those of us who are somewhat impoverished. Okay. Or those of us who do have the funds, create gardens in your backyard, create a greenhouse. All of this stuff is important for self-sustainability. Okay. Find ways to implement maybe solar panels to your home. So that way you can rely more so on the sun than the electric company, right? And find ways to generate this electricity and to harbor it in a generator. So that way you can utilize it in an event that you're unable to pull UV light from the sun in order to empower your homes. Also, we have to go back to indigenous languages, right? Indigenous languages are very important because the language shapes your worldview, right? And if you always continuously speaking the language of your oppressor, you're going to think like your oppressor, you're going to act like your oppressor, and you're going to have empathy for your oppressor. So this is why language is always at the forefront of revolution. Also, Black family. Understand that the Black man, woman, and child is the Godhead. All right. Neither party is greater than the other. Everybody has a role to play, but each one is instrumental in our survival. No one is greater or better than the other. There's no pure patriarchal or matriarchal systems that's going to liberate us. It is the family system that is going to liberate us, where everybody sees value in one another. We uplift one another and we identify each other as the full Godhead. Okay. Moving forward from there, we also have to keep in mind that we have to create a community currency. But before we do that, we have to invest in hard assets. One of the greatest hard assets you can invest in is silver and gold. Silver and gold will always retain its value no matter what happens to the currency of the current society that you live in. Okay, this is something that you can always barter for goods, for services, products, etc. So investing in hard assets such as homes, such as land, such as silver and gold, such as gardens. All of these are tangible assets that will continue to yield for you a profit, as opposed to just storing up paper, which will be deregulated soon. And after it's inflated, it'll be deregulated. And then a new currency is going to come on the scene, and that's going to directly impact us. And again, being that Donald Trump is going to be the new president of this corporate entity, colloquially called the United States of America, his emphasis is going to be on big business. And if we're not self-sustainable in those regions, we're going to be greatly impacted by any reforms that's coming forward. Okay. We also have to start establishing our own body politics, where we can start to govern our community based on the people. We can create communities that are heading these body politics and have these committees help to make various decisions for things in the community. We have to create a charter with a guidebook of codes and ethics, of do's and don'ts, of how to vote people in to these prominent positions of power. within our own community. And what we can do is we can integrate local governments into supporting this thing. And the best way to do that is by instituting municipalities where we have the greatest number of Black people who are concentrated in those regions, okay, or ethnic people, okay. So these are some things to look forward. Also, the education that you have. Most of our learning should be done by leaders in our community, right? This is not to say that they're the be all end all, but you get a more sense of empowerment when you are being educated by somebody that looks like you, as opposed to somebody who does not look like you. Because the people who don't look like you, who are empowering you, again, you'll have more empathy towards them. You'll give them more prominence and preeminence in your life. And you'll start to go to them when you have a problem for a solution. So our leaders need to have more integrity and work towards that. Nobody's perfect in that regard, but we all have to strive to maintain our integrity so that way we can continue to gain the respect and trust and loyalty of the masses. As teachers, this is not an easy job. I know I never asked for this position. I was just inclined to do it because I had the skill that the Creator placed in me to educate His people. Preferably, you know, I don't really care too much for the limelight. I don't really care too much for the accolades, but you know, it's good to get those things because it helps to sustain you as a leader, especially when you face a lot of overwhelming odds. Okay. But again, we have to put emphasis on our indigenous leaders and hold them accountable as much as we can. And also keep in mind that they're human as well, and they need our support. If we do see a flaw or whatever, it is our objective to go to them and help them fix that as best as we can. But our information, our stream of information should come from our Black and ethnic leaders. So that way we can identify with the people who are giving us the information, and we don't put any kind of higher priority on the oppressor's information than those of our own community. Okay. Also, we have to create incentivized programs to bring all the brilliant minds who leave our neighborhoods and go to these Ivy League colleges and then settle in communities outside of our own. So we have to create incentivized programs to bring them back so that way they can bring skills back to the community, okay? And they can be able to do charitable events within our community. We also have to look out for the veterans, right? There are a lot of veterans that's out there who are impoverished, who are homeless, who are injured, who are in need, okay? A lot of people that I know who are veterans have difficulty getting benefits and getting any kind of accommodation. So when we take care of those veterans, we can use those veteran skills to also empower the youth. All right. And this is why the Black Panther Party was so powerful, because you had all these brothers that was coming back from the Vietnam War and all these other various wars. And when they got home, they saw they was fighting another war. So they said, listen, you know, I might as well take the skills that I have and contribute it to the community so the community could benefit from it. And that way we can revolutionize the way that we live, think, and eat. You know, we got to create our own healthcare programs for our community. I have one that's coming up. I'm not going to release it yet because we still have something we're working on, but we're going to work on releasing a healthcare program that people can pay and buy into. So that way they can sustain themselves in a naturopathic format, which is very important, because if our health comes strictly from the oppressor, then in times of dire need of health services, if there's a revolution, we're going to be doomed. So again, we have to be self-sustainable, and this occurs first. And I encourage people to look into herbology, studying herbs, fruits, vegetables, and look into the encourage us to be nutritionists if we can, instead of doctors. Become a nutritionist, okay? Because nutritionists teach you how to be more balanced with the natural needs of things in order to sustain your physiological makeup as an indigenous person. And we have to ensure that the things that we put in our body is curtailed for our physiological makeup. If not, then it'll throw the whole homeostasis and anatomy off, and our well-being won't be as optimal as we need it to be if we're going to either revolutionize the way we live, think, and act, or repatriate. Okay, so health is very important, and we need to focus on that. We also have to look into creating our own tribal communes. So that way we can live as an extended family and not just an immediate family. We have to see that the person next to us and the family next to us is equally as valuable as our own flesh and blood family. And we start to see each other in that light through African-oriented values, right, or indigenous values, or Hebrew Israelite values, because Torah teaches this as well, we'll start to value each other more, and we'll start to create less controversy. The enemy, you know, the oppressors is not worried about us because they know we'll fight over petty things. You know, I've strove my best in this community to maintain my poise, maintain my integrity as best as I can. You know, it was never a perfect run. There was things that tested me and pushed me to the limit, and there were things that I may have leaked out to people regardless of how I felt at the moment. But for the most part, I tried my best not to concentrate my efforts in attacking my fellow brothers because they are not the true enemy. Okay, now I will deal with the egregore, or the thought forms that is programmed into them that causes them to do the things that they do, say the things that they say. But that brother or that sister individually, I'm not there to attack them. So my YouTube channel is mostly content that's wholesome, that you can share with your friends, your family, children. And it's things that's empowering, things that are educational, food for thought. And it's designed to have a means of conveying knowledge and information without the clickbait, you know, because I believe that I don't have to utilize clickbait in order to be successful, right, on my YouTube channel. I believe that if you continue to put out wholesome content, you know, after a while, through word of mouth, more and more people will cling to the channel because what they're getting there is of substance. And the majority of the content that I have on my channel is original content. All right. So again, you know, we have to be the owners of the information, the data, the media that we put out. We need to create our own social media platforms. Anybody who's a programmer in the Black community, I would encourage you to start creating your own social media platforms instead of using the ones that our oppressors can control and dominate. So that way we can be independent and self-sufficient. And we also have to find means of reducing police brutality within the communities, okay, by reorganizing and structuring our communities in a way so that way there's greater repercussions if one of us gets shot and killed. And again, if you go to my YouTube channel, I tell you guys about the app that we're still working on and several other initiatives that we want to employ in order to reduce police brutality within the community. Never devalue our people who are conscious, that are integrated in various facets of society, such as government, such as law, such as distribution, such as anything like that, because those people are going to be your greatest assets, and we can utilize them to provide and open up the door for more resources to be poured out into our indigenous communities. Okay, so I'm not against us attacking our brothers and sisters who are conscious that have regular jobs, because those regular jobs that they have can be, you know, we can use it as intel, and we can use it as a means to recycle those resources back into our community and be able to implement those skill sets by means of webinars and seminars and workshops in order to educate the less fortunate with the skills and knowledge base necessary in order for them to sustain themselves in the absence of these leaders in these communities. So going forward, again, it has to be a concentrated collective effort where we're working together, we see value in one another, and we're instituting culture, and we're establishing autonomy, because autonomy is the greatest tool for revolution. And if you're not fully autonomous, you cannot fight a revolution. And if you're not fully autonomous, you're going to be no good when you repatriate.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I thank you for those points of focus uh, going forward. Definitely a priority type of situation to have a plan moving forward. Definitely what I found over the past couple of years is that we don't state requirements as if we would. So if we had a job description and we were looking to bring somebody in our places of employment, our job description would entail all of the possible qualifications, the scope of work, and it's needed to fulfill that position. So someone would have to have these characteristics, traits, and have done these prerequisites before we could even deal with them. And the student teacher led relationship that we have within the confines of the conscious community on every level needs to be something that we can substantiate, something that we can enforce, a space and place where we go, brothers and sisters accountable. All of those things need to come together bring these things forward. So if you have any closing remarks, you can do so at this time. I definitely thank you for your time and everything that you have done.
Yes. Okay, I definitely appreciate that, my brother Knowledge Born. I want people to support this platform because this brother has been putting out good content for the longest. He's been in his community for a while. He has good relationships with people because he's not about the drama. He's not about the controversy. He's all about the edification, information, and betterment of our community. So definitely, I want people in my closing remarks to support this platform. Subscribe to it if you haven't already. Do the Knowledge Radio. My brother Knowledge Born, he goes by a lot of other different aliases, but I call him Knowledge Born because he makes knowledge born. Every time you speak to the brother, he always have some pearls and some jewels that he can drop on you. And me being much younger, I always incline my ear to be a sponge to those who are elders, who are highly cherished and respect. That's in our community. All right. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen and hearken your ear into the information that I shared. I pray that I was able to motivate and inspire you guys to go out and do something. Okay. Complaints is not good if there's no solution attached to it. I don't want nobody complaining to me about a problem unless you're able to give some idea of how you would like it to be resolved. My organization, we're at the forefront of solutions. At the forefront of re-education in regards to the people. We at the forefront of our scholarship, at the forefront of community work that we do. All these things are important, and I would implore everybody to integrate these also into your organizations. Remember, institute culture as much as you can through homeschooling. If you can with your children, try and homeschool them, or you can try and get some basic curriculums that you can utilize with them for homework. So that way they won't be fully indoctrinated by the system, but they need to be educated and so forth. So we are inclined as a conscious community to put out more information that can cater to the youth. All right. From toddlers all the way up into kids that are 17, 18 years old. You know what I'm saying? So we have a responsibility of putting that type of information out to better our community. Also, autonomy. Autonomy is the greatest form of revolution. If you're not autonomous, you cannot fight no revolution. And I mentioned several things that we can start working on implementing earlier in order for us to be fully autonomous. With that being said, family, I want to say that I love you guys. Thank you for the short time that I was able to spend with you. Go and subscribe to Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. Also, you can like my public figure page on Facebook entitled Divine Prospect. You can get at me on Instagram at Kingdom Moments, one word, at Kingdom Moments. You can add me on Instagram. And also, I mean, anything that I have, definitely come out to support. You know, I don't always need money, you know what I'm saying? But I would definitely like support. You can share information, something that I place, whether it's a video, something, come out to the community, things that we're doing in the neighborhood, whether that's food drives, whether that's clothing drives. Whatever it is, we would like for you guys to get involved and work with us. If you have a business, let us know so we can partner with you as well. If you need endorsements or sponsorships, let me know. You can email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com with any inquiries, requests. If you'd like for me to come speak somewhere, you could definitely send it there. My assistant and manager will work on it and they will set something up. And, you know, with that being said, just continue to patronize and support each other. And in doing so, you're looking at your brother next to you as your flesh and blood, and as somebody that's equally as valuable as you in a selfless manner will ensure our preservation and survival in a white supremacist society that's designed to continue to apply pressure to us so that way we won't unite. Because the best way for us to unite is to look at the common denominator and for us to overlook the numerator. The numerator is just minor things that divide us, but the common denominator is what unifies us. So always keep this in mind. Think about that mathematical fraction and always put the emphasis on a denominator and find the best methods or equations or real-time algorithms in order for us to create a whole integer from utilizing those common denominators by way of those denominators. And with that being said, I love you, family. Peace, shalom. Thank you, my brother Knowledge Born. And I look forward to gracing this platform again.
Definitely thank you for your time and your attention, brother, and your words of wisdom. Uh, I ask that everybody go back and take a look and review this archive. It'll be up shortly, and so y'all can hear all this wisdom that this brother dropped. And make sure that y'all get in contact with him and areas. So I know you got some things in the works, but hopefully people can still request you in that area to bring that good information. Uh, keep this moving forward. So I thank you for your time, brother. Shalom.
Shalom.